Hi everybody. Had a little bit of drama here. I'm still kind of recovering. I started the stream and I got an error message, and it was the first time I saw that happen, and I freaked out. Okay, breathe. I hope I didn't get rid of people that were waiting. Anyhow, I'll get the hang of it, so you need to bear with me. Let's see who's there. So we have Katie, Emma, and Allie from New Mexico. Welcome. Ashley Friedrichs, Austin, Texas. All right. So begin with some of the usual announcements. If you support the work that we do, I'd appreciate it if you became a patron on Patreon. Every bit helps. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to produce these videos, so I'd appreciate your help. You can also make a direct contribution on Venmo. Last week, I wasn't sure it was working. I know for sure that Venmo is working now. And of course, the usual YouTube stuff, subscribe and like videos and stuff like that. It really helps the algorithms and all that stuff. If you're not a subscriber yet, you may be missing some of our new videos. So just a quick update. This was kind of a crazy week. Somebody told me today, "Oh, I miss your vocabulary videos. What happened?" Well, I spent a lot of time learning how to stream and preparing for each one of the last three live stream events that we've had, and so here we are. Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for the super chat. Ashley says, keep up the awesome work. Let's hear what you have to say about writing skills. You will in just a minute. So I did take a break from the other content videos and vocabulary videos. Also some other things going on, all getting ready for the Thanksgiving season, holiday season, and all that. I'm ready. I'm going to start making not only live streams but also vocabulary videos, content videos, and so forth. So Ashley is anxious for us to get started, so let's get this ball rolling. Where am I here? Okay, here we are. No, you can't see it, can you? Okay, here we are. So how to quickly boost your writing for online learning. So this is in continuation to the first two live streams that we did. Just to recap, we saw that the premise for these live stream events is that a lot of people were thrown into virtual learning, knowing that for you to be an effective online learner, there are certain criteria that you should meet. Among these two criteria are being good readers. That's what we talked about in the last week, a week from tonight. And in this live stream, we're going to talk about being good writers. So for you to be an effective online learner, you need to be a good writer. The big question is, well, can you improve your writing skills? Well, of course, but there's always a but. It depends. It depends on your writing. Effective writing takes a lot of practice. So you can improve it, but can you improve it quickly? Well, I'm not so sure. It takes time, and a lot of people say, but I have no time. I have to write everything in my virtual learning courses. It's not like going to class, your instructor asks a question, you answer orally. No, everything has to be in writing. You have to provide written answers to everything. And what I hear a lot of people say, unfortunately, is that, oh, I am not a talented writer. I'm not good at writing. Um, well, what do you do then? You're in the middle of virtual learning, and at least here in the United States, that seems to be here to stay. It's getting worse. Hi, Alini Williams. Welcome. Glad you made it. Well, the good news is that writing is not necessarily a gift. A lot of people have this notion that uh, some people are born to write, they're good writers. Oh, but I'm not one of these people, so what do I do? Well, I don't really think it's a necessarily a gift. That's something that you can learn. A gift here means that, well, you don't really have to do anything. You're just born a writer. Well, nobody is born a writer. Some people um, pick it up more quickly than others. Some people move on to be great novelists and they win, prizes, Pulitzer prizes and whatnot. Some people probably never will get to the level. But for online learning, for work, no, it's not really a gift. You can learn, you can improve enough to become an effective writer for these things. So, what are the quick ways to boost your writing? So tonight we'll be talking about three areas of virtual learning. The first will be you should write with a clear purpose. If you have a clear purpose when you write, you will see some improvement right away. Also, planning. Plan your writing before you start writing. And finally, we'll look at using simple sentences and complex sentences. So what do I mean by writing with a clear purpose? Well, even before you start writing, you should know what you're doing, right? Know your task. So, for example, if you're going to write an email, wait a minute, anybody can write an email, right? Well, it's writing, and some people write better emails than others. And in virtual learning, you will be writing a lot of emails to your instructor. We saw that in the first live event, I believe, about writing emails. So if you're writing an email, what is your task? Well, it depends. You may be writing an email to inform or to persuade the person receiving the email to just tell a story. You're emailing someone, telling them about something that happened, or just sharing information. Okay. Answers. Oh, speaking of virtual learning, right? You have to answer a lot of questions. Well, it depends on the question, and we'll look at those more in depth. If you're writing a paragraph, what is the topic of the paragraph? You can't start writing a paragraph if you don't know exactly what the topic is. And what is the paragraph supposed to do? Is that paragraph is it a persuasive paragraph? Is it a narrative paragraph or what? Then the scary one, essays, right? Well, an essay is just a collection of paragraphs. If you learn how to write a paragraph, to write an essay, you're going to write a lot of paragraphs with the difference that each paragraph will support a thesis about that topic. So an essay is just a little more complex than just writing a paragraph because an essay requires many paragraphs. So you should focus on, can you write a good paragraph? If you can, the next step will be a lot easier. Or whatever you're writing, know the topic and know the purpose. Okay, have a clear purpose in mind. See, Alini says, hey there, back at you. This topic is right up my alley. Good for you. I guess some people like writing, some people don't. Okay, before we get into other things, let's talk about modes of writing. I've already alluded to that before in the other live events. let's talk about it a little more specifically. So you have three major modes of writing. So your writing can be informational. Uh, that's when your purpose for the entire writing is to inform, to teach, and so on. It could be argumentative. So you have your whole writing, if you write several paragraphs or a whole email, the mode of writing could be argumentative. So you're trying to persuade or defend a position. Or it could be narrative. That's when you're just telling a story. By the way, stories have a moral, they have significance, they have meaning. So you don't see narrative paragraphs as much in academic writing, but it's an important tool for you to communicate ideas. Okay, so depending on the mode of writing, you're going to organize your ideas in a way that fits the topic and the purpose you have in mind. So when you organize ideas, you could just simply list items, or maybe you describe and illustrate something, or you explain something. If you're telling a story or if you're writing something about history, you're listing events. Maybe you define something. You also classify, you explain cause effect, compare and contrast things, all the way to arguing a point. So for each one of these modes of organization, you're going to organize the information as a list. Or if you're explaining something, well, you need to get information so that the reader understands a concept. If you're summarizing and integrating information, you need to get pieces of information and put them together so that the reader can see the whole picture through your writing. Okay. What's interesting to note here is that some of these modes of organization just require rote memorization. So you learned something in school and now you just need to list what those things are. If you need to explain, maybe you need a little more thinking, but still you can just memorize the explanation. These here get a little more difficult because they require higher order critical thinking. For example, when you summarize and integrate information, you really have to understand it and you have to think about how can I put all this information together to create something new using the information that's already out there. It requires a lot more critical thinking. So just keep that in mind, that when you're trying to decide on what is the purpose of what I'm writing, one important thing is to know what kind of information you need, how you're going to organize it so that you achieve the purpose that you want. I mentioned answering questions. Let me see. Oh, I can't read that name. It's in Greek. Watching from Thailand. Welcome, Thailand. And Alex 1, good evening to you too. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we talked a little bit about answering questions in the previous live stream, but I didn't really get into the writing. We talked about understanding the question, but how do you write the answer? This is what we're going to do today. So this may be kind of repetitive from the last time, but some people may not have seen it. So remember that question stems state the topic of the question or the issue involved. And the question stems also define the task or the purpose that you have. So for example, if a question is, what is X? Well, this question is saying, what is something? So essentially, it's telling you to define and explain something, or maybe something else, depending on the question. How does X happen? Well, I want you to describe and explain probably a process. So when you read the question, how does you go, oh, this is the question. The question stem here is how and something happens. So you understand that there's a process involved. Therefore, you're going to think about the answer and you're going to organize the answer as a process. Okay, you're going to explain a process. And also remember that some questions may require just rote memorization of information. So maybe you're going to list information, give some quick explanations. Other questions may require a little bit more higher order critical thinking. Oh my God, there's someone from Iraq. Pearl White, welcome. And Ashley is amazed that I have so many people around the world. I am too. It just never ceases to amaze me that I'm sitting here in my office and you have people all over the world with their eyes on me. It's just so awesome. Anyhow, so back to this. So questions may require either just rote memorization or higher order critical thinking skill. So pay attention to what it is that you need to provide. So to summarize, so when answering questions, identify keywords and question stems. Okay, you need to understand what the question is before you write the answer. Identify keywords and question stems. Understand your task or purpose for writing. Okay, so you may understand the question, but do you understand what you're supposed to accomplish? Are you going to just list information? Are you going to argue a point? Are you going to choose sides and explain your side or something? It depends on the question. Okay, makes a lot of sense, right? No, it doesn't. We need to look at some examples here. So let me switch to this here. So let's say that you're asked this question: what are the phases in cell division? Explain each one. So what are the phases in cell division? Explain each one. So what are the keywords that you have to pay attention to here? And what is it that you have to do? What is your writing task? Ashley, you don't have to know the answer, just imagine. Ashley is scared. So what are the phases in cell division? Explain each one. So let's take a look at this. So, well, it's a what question, okay? What are the phases in cell division? So the topic here, and I underlined it, is cell division. But the instructor here wants to know something very specific about cell division. There are phases in it. And this is kind of a double question. You need to explain each one of them. Okay, so let's look at the task. So you have the what and the explain. So the what is you have to list something. Well, you have to list the phases, right? And what is it you have to explain? Well, it is a process. So you need to explain the steps in a process, maybe describe how these phases take place. You understand that. Ashley, I know it's a science prompt, but you know about cell division, right? The cell, there's one cell and they become two. So this is what, and this has phases. It doesn't happen, all of a sudden. So the question here is, what are the phases? And then so your task is to list the phases and to explain the process. Okay, next one. The American Civil War took place between 1861 and 1865. Discuss its main causes. So what are the key words that you see there? And what do you think you have to accomplish? What is your task when answering that question? I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it before I answer it. Play some music. Okay, don't forget to tip the DJ. All right, okay, so you have to discuss something. Oh, Katie said discuss and main causes. So sounds like there are multiple causes, right? Oh, that's a pearl. That is a big keyword, Civil War. Okay. That is a really important keyword because that is actually the topic, right? So the first sentence is just kind of it's a gimme. It's not really a question. The instructor just kind of framed the question here by giving the dates, I guess, to help students remember. Okay, so the keywords are actually here, right? So you have to discuss, and was that Ashley said discuss, Katie said, well, discuss, also main causes. And of course, its main causes, well, its refers to the Civil War. So that's a really important keyword there. That's the topic that you have to write about. Okay. So that's right, Pearl. You should focus on those main causes there, right? So if you have 100 causes, and usually anything in history, nothing has only one or two causes. The question is about main causes. So causes here is an important word. So you're going to list and explain those main causes. And as Katie pointed out, discuss is a keyword. So you're going to discuss, interpret viewpoints, present and maybe argue viewpoints, because maybe there's disagreement as far as what these main causes are and so forth. Okay. All right, next one. Write a short, persuasive. Oh no, that's an essay. That's an essay. That's a big one. Write a short, persuasive essay about compulsory voting in the United States. So what are the keywords and what is it that you have to accomplish there? I'm going to bring the DJ back so you can think. Manjeet just joined us. Hello, Manjeet. Welcome. Okay, so I didn't get a lot of answers. You guys thinking or listening to the DJ? Okay, let's take a look. All right, so well, Pearl is on fire. So compulsory voting is a big, well, that's the topic. It's more than just a keyword. Well, that's right, Katie, persuasive. So it has to be a persuasive essay. You know, it's in the United States because compulsory voting is common around the world. So it's talking about the United States. So this has to do with a change. So the purpose is complicated. Okay. This is an essay, so there are many ways that you can look at this, but these are the keywords. It has to be persuasive, and the topic is compulsory voting. Okay, so you need to persuade. To persuade, you need to choose a side and create an argument to defend it. Okay, each paragraph that you write, it's an essay, so you will have several paragraphs. Each paragraph will whatever it takes. Okay, when you write an essay that's a persuasive essay, maybe you inform. But wait a minute, why inform? You're supposed to persuade. Yeah, but a lot of times you inform to make a point. You use the information to make a point. You explain some cause-effect relationship to make a point and persuade. So when you have to write something persuasive, you have to, just throw the whole kitchen sink on it and just do whatever it is that you need to do to achieve your task. But the task is to persuade. Okay, it needs to be persuasive. So this is it for writing with a clear purpose. Okay, so when you read something, understand what the topic is, what are the keywords, even if it's an email. Let's say your boss sent you an email. Our first instinct is just read real quick and start writing, right? No. What is the email about? What are the questions that your boss wants you to address? Do you have to convince your boss about something? Do you just need to provide a list of information? Understand your purpose, okay? Now let's talk about planning your writing before you start. Many people jump right into writing. You read a question, you start answering the question, and then when you're halfway through the answer, you realize that, oh my God, I forgot to say something else first. I should have started this way. Well, stop. Read the question, understand the question first. Now, before you start writing, plan your writing. So always plan your written work, and it doesn't matter how long it is. It could be a short email. It could be a short answer to a question. It could be an essay, okay? You should always plan. Sometimes, I get emails at work that have like several parts. If they ask a bunch of questions. So I like to answer each question separately in paragraphs. I hate it when it's the other way around. I send someone an email, ask several questions, and you can tell that they just sat there and started typing. So the answer is really confusing. I don't know which part of one single paragraph is answering which question that I asked. Read something, understand what you have to do first, then think, how am I going to answer this? Think about the organization. How are you going to organize your ideas? In general, ideas have an introduction, a body, which is where that's where the meat of your writing is, where most of the information is, and a conclusion. And I put an asterisk there because usually you would conclude in longer work or complex answers. I never write an email, and then in conclusion, I never, conclude it. I just say bye, thank you, goodbye. But for longer work, sometimes you have to write a conclusion. So let's look at some examples here. So what are the phases in cell division? So we just looked at that, right? What are the phases in cell division? Explain each one. So first, understand it. This is your task. This is your purpose. Oh, I'm going to list the steps in the process. I'm going to highlight important information, and then I'm going to explain these phases. Don't start writing yet. Stop and think. Okay, so I learned this. You have 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Prophase, then quickly jot down the details. Get a separate piece of, like if you're taking an exam and you have that question, you're taking an exam online, before you start writing the answer, get a piece of paper and jot down the main points. Prophase, this is what I'll say about this. When I tell students they need to do this, they tell me, oh, but you don't have enough time. It takes maybe 15, 20 seconds for you to organize your thoughts. But if you don't, it's going to take you 4 or 5 minutes to correct all the mistakes that you made, and you're going to have to reshuffle information and stuff. Trust me, if you plan really quickly, even a quick outline that you write, it makes your work a lot easier. So this is how you could write this answer. So cell division or mitosis, that's what cell division is called. Cell division or mitosis consists of 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase. Okay. During the prophase, the cell does this and this and that. Next, the cell divides. Da, da, da. Finally, okay, so see the organization here. First, I kind of rephrased the question. The question says, what are the phases in cell division? So you start with an introduction. Yeah, Pearl said, plan my writing should begin with the introduction. Okay, so even in a short answer, like an exam answer, you start with a short introduction. Repeat the question or rephrase the question. Cell division or mitosis, so you're already showing some knowledge here, consists of these phases. So this is the first phase, then you explain it. Next, oh, so here's the second part, and then you continue, and finally, oh, so here is the last phase. So these are called words like first, next, finally. These are called transition words, and you're telling the reader, here's the first part, here's the second part, here's the last part. Okay, does that make sense? Another one, discuss how historians disagree on the main causes of the Civil War and present your position. Hold on. Forget this part here. It's my bad. Okay, so discuss how historians disagree. Discuss how historians disagree on the main cause of the Civil War. So again, first you understand the question. So we went through this, right? Civil War, main causes. But here there's something important. Historians disagree, and you need to explain how. You need to discuss in what ways historians disagree with it. Okay, so you need to list and explain facts and reasons. So why do they disagree? Maybe compare and contrast perspectives. So in history, it's interesting that we think that history is just one thing, but actually people can understand it from different perspectives. So maybe you'll compare and contrast these perspectives and explain cause-effect relationship. So if you have this perspective, you understand it like that, cause-effect. These are just ideas of how I understand you should answer this question, okay? So before you start writing, plan your answer. Actually, I had to look this up. There are two main reasons historians disagree on the cause of Civil War. One is a methodological reason. So I'm going to write it down. Methodological and ideological. What about methodological reasons? Well, I'm going to write some details here, some details here. So I am organizing my thoughts before I start writing, and then I move on to writing. So again, I repeat the question. Well, it's not really a question, but you know what I mean, right? Historians disagree on the causes of the Civil War for methodological and ideological reasons. First, historians have used different methodologies. So I'm going to talk about this, blah, 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 therefore, blah, blah, blah. The other reason is ideological. So again, I'm using transitions. First, methodological reasons, talk, write. And then the other reason, I'm going to talk about ideological reasons. Okay, so I understand what the question is. I understand what the task is. I need to explain, I need to compare, contrast, and so forth. And then when you go to write, you have a plan, you just write it down, okay? All right, so just as a recap. start by restating the issue, or stating the issue in one sentence, or restating the question, particularly for an exam question. Organize your ideas. What is the best way to address the topic or answer the question? I'm going to list information, explain something, illustrate something, create an argument. Let me think about this. I'm going to plan it. I'm going to plan how to do it. Okay? All right. So we looked at having a clear purpose, planning your writing before you start. Now, how do you write, nice, really good, strong sentences? Well, I cannot teach, people how to write in, 45 minutes, but I can give you some helpful tips. The first tip is to start with simple sentences and then combine them into more complex sentences. Some people, they think that good writing is complicated writing. The more convoluted it is, the bigger the words I use. No, sometimes simple sentences are the way to go. But then if you only have simple sentences, short, simple sentences, it becomes repetitive. You need to kind of balance the two. Okay, let's look at some examples here. All right, so Mr. Nakamura was in his office. He was working. It was an accounting office on the 20th floor. The earthquake hit. It was a powerful earthquake. Yeah, it's okay, but these sentences are too short. They're kind of repetitive. Okay, and look, Mr. Nakamura was in his office. That's Mr. Nakamura again, talking about the office here, and I'm talking about the office here. So there's a lot of repetition, a lot of things that keep being oh, here I'm talking about the earthquake. I can't see that color, can you? And here's the earthquake again. Okay, so how can we tackle this? And also there are two ideas here, right? One idea is this, it has to do with Mr. Nakamura, and the other idea has to do with the earthquake. Okay, so every time you see these repetitive words, you can combine them. Okay, so how about something like this? Mr. Nakamura was in his office. Wait a minute, what was he doing there? He was working, right? We're talking about Mr. Nakamura. Mr. Nakamura was working in his office. Oh, what office? It was an accounting office on the 20th floor. In his accounting office on the 20th floor. When the earthquake hit. Oh, wait a minute. It was a powerful earthquake. So there. So I got all the 5 sentences. I combined them by looking at repetitive words and wrote one simple one. I can simplify this even more. The office on the 20th floor. I can move it over here. Make this an adjective. His 20th floor accounting office. Okay, so Mr. Nakamura was working on his 20th floor accounting office when the powerful earthquake hit. Let's look at another one. Now, yeah, let's look at this one. This is a fun one. The bear was angry. The bear was being protective of its cubs. The bear was moving toward the jogger. The jogger saw it. He ran off, screaming. It's kind of okay to leave all these sentences like that. It creates tension. It creates, but if you just keep writing in very short sentences like that, after a while it gets kind of boring. It's like, oh, come on, just give me the whole thing. Okay, so what are repeated words here? So you're talking about a bear, right? Oh, the bear is everywhere. What else? There's a little lag time, lag time, lag time. Come on. Oh, hi. Look at the lady. She wants you guys to look over there and put it in the box. Okay. Maybe there's a long lag. So you have the jogger. Whoops. The jogger and the jogger. Okay. So you could say the bear. What can you say about the bear? Well, the angry bear was moving toward the jogger. But we need to talk about this here, right? So there are many ways you can do this. You could say protective of its cubs, the angry bear was moving toward the jogger. Then you could say when the jogger saw it, he ran off screaming. There are many ways that you could do that, but you get the point, right? You just avoiding repeating information over and over again. Sometimes it's easier for you to combine sentences than to try to start out with a collection of really complex sentences. That's where sometimes you get lost. So start with simple sentences, get your ideas down, and then later you can combine them. And you don't have to combine them all, okay? So find keywords or words that repeat, find adjectives and descriptors, and then create noun phrases. That's when we saw like 3 sentences became the 20th floor accounting office and the great angry bear being protective of its cubs and so forth. Okay. Also identify key ideas and connect them with conjunctions. Just be careful, don't overdo it. Okay, don't make sure you don't have only complex sentences. You should try to find a balance between a few, short sentences, a few complex sentences. As I said before, now if you have something that's all really convoluted, complex sentences, it's really hard to read. People just, can't understand it. It's nice to have a balance. So we saw about writing with a clear purpose. Make sure that you understand what the question is. Pay attention to question stems and keywords. Understand what it is that you have to do. Plan your writing before you start. Plan your writing before you start. This is really important. You can quickly outline your writing. Just jot down the ideas that you want to include. Start by restating the issue or stating the issue in your writing or restating the issue if you're answering a question. Make sure to include all the key points. in your planning, and use simple and complex sentences. Start with simple sentences, then identify common parts of simple sentences, combine them using noun phrases and conjunctions. And as a bonus tip, use transition words where needed. Remember those words where it say first, blah, 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 next, blah, 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 finally, however, nonetheless. These are words that when you combine your ideas, you use them to kind of glue your ideas together and show how the ideas are related to one another. And how about the kitchen sink? What about all the other stuff? Well, there's a lot about writing that was not covered here. The premise for this live event was to kind of quickly boost your writing. If you're facing, having to take an online course, all of a sudden you're thrown into virtual learning. What can you do to quickly improve your writing? Well, those are the three things that we talked about. But you need to continue improving your writing. There's a lot more to it. Essays. What about essays? They can be pretty complex. Check out the writing process playlist that I have. It's on another channel. I have a second channel called Snap Language Learner. I have this entire playlist on the writing process, all the way from an overview, all the way from when you first have an idea for writing or you have an assignment. What is it that you have to do, all the steps that you have to take, and then I break it down into each part of the writing process, all the way to, formatting and finalizing your work. So if writing is an issue, I strongly recommend you take a look at that. And I got ahead of myself here. This is the last slide. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving, which means that I will not be doing a live stream. I will be working on some videos, but I'm going to take a break from live streaming because I really put a lot of effort into learning how to create live streams, how to use the software, and how to connect to YouTube and all that stuff. Now I'm ready to go. Let me go back to creating content videos and the vocabulary videos. One of the comments was from Katie. She said, "Yeah, I like the vocabulary videos. I want to see them." So I'll be getting back to some of that. But I do have a lot of things planned for these live streams. I'm hoping to make them at least every other week, and if possible, every week. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I don't see any questions in the chat room, so I guess we can wrap it up. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.